Good morning. It is Sunday, April 26, 2020, and we're about to head out of Newburgh, New York, many miles to an undisclosed location to go trash picking and scrapping all day, possibly in the rain. So I'm going to head out and embark on this epic journey, and I'll see you when I get there. So here we are in our undisclosed location, and the first thing we're going to find today is, well, a vacuum cleaner cord. You might have guessed that. Trunk looks a lot different than it did last night, huh? But it's always nice to put something in there to start the day, even if it's just a cord. So I just finished at the second pile and putting my magnet on these plates. See, these platters are brass. This pipe is copper. This teapot is also copper. And I just got this Iron Horse mountain bike. Now it's a pretty big pile right here, but as I was here, these two skeevy pile hoppers pulled up. Can't stand pile hoppers, so I'm gonna bail out. I mean, not of the whole route, but just of this pile, because I already got what I wanted anyway. All right, here's a little pile that looks like it's got some buckets of fun stuff. Look at this, bullets. I don't know if these are live bullets. Got like gun bluing, nails, tools, twine. I think I'm just gonna take all of this stuff, sort it out later. So this was a really nice lady. She came out and told me she had more stuff coming out of the basement later. But I think this load's pretty cool. Just buckets of random crap. Takes a lot of space in the car though, but it's pretty fun to find. Well, things have kind of slowed down a little bit. I haven't found much in the last half hour or so. But let's look at this grill and see if the grates are in it. Yay, they are. Now I can take them out and put them in the trunk. So we're starting to get a little scrap load already. That's like $2-3 worth. So this is one of those situations where I saw a pile and now I'm driving around in circles trying to figure out where the pile is. But I think it's this one up here. And from far away it looked like it might have some bikes in it. But it really just looks like it's a bunch of pipes and nonsense. See? No bikes. No bikes. So here's another pile that has a vacuum cleaner cord, and I'm gonna grab that, but it also has some big boxes, so I want to see what's inside them. And it's just like baby toys, so I'll go cut that cord off. So this is what it's like on a quiet Sunday morning, cruising around a little suburb in first gear. Haven't found much yet, other than the bike we found earlier, but I have a feeling I'm gonna find some good stuff today. So I'm gonna keep cruising and keep looking. But this is a lot of what you do, just cruising around. And the good thing about going around the same neighborhood a couple of days in a row is it allows you to keep track of where all the piles were. So you know which ones were new and which ones are old and which ones have had stuff added to them. So that was a pile that I saw yesterday. And this street really doesn't have too much more on it from yesterday, but hopefully it will by this afternoon. Even though it's already this afternoon. It's not morning anymore, Dorothy. I got really excited about this pile because I saw drums from far off. But these are real crappy drums, and they've obviously been sitting out in the rain all night. You know, you got your drum pedal by First Act, which I'll probably take that for scrap metal. But these drums were basically just a big tease. It happens. So it is officially raining. Not super hard yet, but it's raining. But I have found this faucet attached to this sink, and that's a pretty good brass faucet, so I'm going to take it off. And that requires me to use these pliers to take this off, and then to take this off. That was pretty loose. And this one's pretty loose too. Sometimes these things can be really complicated to get out, but this is a pretty easy one. And now I can just pull the faucet out and, you know, it's not great, but it's mostly brass. So it's like $1 or $2. Here's a little pile of metal. And I saw this yesterday, but I didn't grab it, but, you know, I figure today I'll throw it in the car. It's got some brass on there. Maybe I'll take it apart here on the side of the street. It looks like the brass is just held on by these 2 screws, and luckily I have some bolt cutters in the car. I need 2 hands for those, so I'll do it off camera. So it came off pretty easily, but the whole thing was filled with water, so the car got a little wet. That's all right though. It's a nice piece of brass. I also found this saw, and that could be dirty aluminum, but it's got a little too much plastic, so I'm just gonna cut the cord off and leave the saw here. And then these weird little signs. Printer, coppersmith, carpenter, shoemaker. I don't think they're really worth anything, so I'm gonna leave those there too. I decided not to cut that cord. I would say 90% of the time those circular saws still work when I test them, so that one probably does too. So somebody can use it as a saw, or maybe someone else will cut the cord, but I'll leave it for the next guy. So this is very exciting right here. This is what I like to look for. Things like this. A steel chainsaw. Now this is old and it's crusty and grimy and it may not work, but it's still worth money even just for parts. The Steel 026. I'm snatching that right up. Let's get a better look at this thing. It's a steel chainsaw. It's got a 16-inch Rollomatic bar. It's dirty, but it looks all right. And let's see if it's got compression to it. It's kind of hard to pull these things. All right, that was embarrassing, so let's try it again. That sounds pretty good. So it's kind of slow out here today. Hopefully it'll pick up later, but my eagle eye has just spotted something that I haven't seen in years. An accordion. And this is sad because it looks like this thing's been sitting in the rain all night long. I mean, who would leave an accordion in the rain? I guess I'll take it. Some of these things can be worth a fortune. So here's a better look at it. I don't know if this is a high-end accordion. It doesn't look that fancy, and it is soaked. It says Augusto Torrio Sons, New York, something like that. The back of it's kind of messed up from the water. Let's look at the case over here. The case is actually dry, so they might have put this out this morning, but I'll take it. You know, what's the worst that could happen? I'll get 10 bucks for it. Hey, watch what happens to the accordion when I step on the brakes. You gotta be careful about how you load your car when you're out scrapping. All right, that should be a little bit better. Unless this chainsaw goes flying. We got kind of a nice little backseat full of stuff going so far. And it's only like 1 in the afternoon. So it has started raining. It's not the end of the world, but it means that people really aren't putting stuff out right now. But I'm gonna keep driving around and weather the storm. And I'll keep you updated on what happens next, if anything happens next. So here I am at a pile in the rain. And this pile has these 7 pretty nice wrought iron patio chairs in it. And the reason no one saw these, I think, yesterday is because it's a dead-end street, you see? And you really can't see the chairs as you're driving by. So I'm not gonna try and shove these in the Camry, but I did call a friend and he's gonna come pick them up. Sometimes you do that. Help your friends and they'll help you. And notice I neatened the pile after we took the chairs. It's always a good policy. Don't make a mess. And now that we're done with the chairs, we're at another pile that has a rusty old bike. This is a Motobacan, and it's kind of a hunk of junk, but I'm gonna take it anyway because it's really cool looking. I don't think this is a high-end Motobacan, but the size of the frame and this weird pine green color and the rust and patina are just incredible. So I have the Motobacan tied up with some wire so it doesn't come off the rack or move around. And now everything's back and ready to go. This pile is kind of a sad example of what happens in the rain. See all these like books and games and stuff. This old Stephen King book, it's just destroyed. But there is this big piece of scrap metal. It's like a motor and a pump. So I'm happy about that. And I guess I'll also take this Super Mario Brothers Wii game. And there's an empty red box case with a crappy movie in it. So I can put Mario inside there. It's funny how things work out like that on the curb. This is why you have to have the eagle eye. I almost drove right past this pile. But there's 1, 2, 3 car batteries. That's exciting. And oddly enough, in that same pile was this old Atlas microphone stand. You know, these aren't that uncommon, but it's kind of weird to find 3 batteries, an Atlas stand, and just some suburban junk in the same pile. So after you do this for a while, you can spot a good bike from pretty far away and check it out. A genuine Trek Mountain Track 800. That's a nice bike. Now if I put this Trek on the bike rack like this, then the fork on the Trek is going to hit the nut right here. It's going to wreck the fork even more than it's already wrecked. So I'll have to reconfigure that a little bit. And meanwhile, you got some skeevy pile hoppers over there that drove right up to the pile without even bothering to see if I was done. So now I got all 3 bikes, and the bike rack is getting a little crowded. And as you can guess, I really don't like pile hoppers at all. So since I got to this pile, 3 other cars have pulled up. One guy said, "Hey, are you taking this other bike? You were here first." So that's not a skeevy pile hopper. That's a good guy. The other 2 cars, skeevy pile hoppers. Sorry for the rant, but if you're gonna go out trash picking, don't pile hop. It's annoying. All right, here's an interesting pile. First, you'll notice the dryer cord, which I'm gonna cut off. But around here, you got a set of jumper cables. See those jumper cables? Those are good for scrap. But then here's a Sega Cd. How much you want to bet this box is empty? Yeah, totally empty. But at least I get a couple of cords. Now, I wasn't able to record it because there was kind of a dude rumbling his truck in the middle of the road. But this jumbled pile had a really cool bike in it. It's like one of these mail order single speeds. The GTM Feeling. I've actually found a couple of these lately, and this one's really cool looking. I think the guy in the truck wanted it though, because as soon as I picked it up, he took off. Oh well, sorry dude. So there are people who think that you should open every suitcase you find. I don't know. I'm gonna give him a little shake. There is something inside it. Just some coat hangers and stuff. This one, empty. What I am gonna do is look these up on my phone, see if they're worth anything. I did find 2 identical suitcases on eBay and they sold for 75 bucks, but I don't think it would be worth my time to list them and ship them, and they're kind of wet now anyway, so I'll leave them. And this is kind of an interesting pile over here. A couple of chairs. Really crappy meat slicer. I got a decent one yesterday, but I wouldn't want to pick this one up. But then there's this whole box full of wire. It's like wires that people have already cut off and put into a box, and copper. And then there's this cores thing. It's like a box. It's basically a cooler box. It's really rough, but it's a cool looking thing. So I'm just gonna take the wire and copper. So here's all the plugs that I cut off the cords. And this box is heavy and wet enough so it's not gonna blow away in the rain. And here's all the cords. That's a pretty big pile. I'm impressed. So I just talked to the guy, and it turns out I was right. He was gonna take these to the scrapyard himself, but he felt like it wasn't worth the bother. So I'll take them. Thank you, guy. So it's like 4:30 now, and I've just spent the last hour of my life talking with another picker on the side of the road, which is always fun. you know, comparing notes and seeing what the other guy got, and talking about the scene. But now it's back to the route, and we'll see what else we find. All right, this is definitely something you don't really want to see out in the rain. This is a battery-powered Roland Cube Street stereo amplifier. And this is not really a busy street. I don't know why those cars are going by so fast. This thing is beat up and it's in terrible condition, but I'm going to take it anyway because I've actually had pretty good luck selling these Roland Cubes in my life. This is really light, but we will take this and put it in the car. Plus, I haven't found anything in a while, so, you know, it's a return to splendor. So we're back at the house of this lady who threw out all the cool stuff this morning. And it looked like she threw out some more cool stuff, but people may have dug through it already. I don't know, sometimes it's hard to tell. But, I don't know. Maybe I'll just take all of it. What do I have to lose? So I'm pretty sure someone got there before we did, but I did find this really cool utility knife. It's made out of plastic. Most of them are made out of metal, like aluminum or iron. So that was neat. And some big nails, some small nails, a file handle, and what looks like a little handheld drill or something. So, not quite as great as the stuff we found in the same pile this morning, but still pretty cool. So right now the rain is coming down pretty heavily, but there are still piles coming out and there are still people driving around, like this pickup truck up here in front of me who pulled over at that pile right there. So I'm gonna stick it out for at least another hour and we'll see how it goes. See if I find anything else in the rain. I saw a guy at this pile earlier, so I couldn't come over and check it out, but what do you think? You think this thing has the grates in it? Oh yeah, they're still there. Well, that's something. Also something you find in these grills? Bees' nests. Today's scrap load is nothing compared to yesterday's, but still a couple hours left to go. Or an hour, maybe. And those grates add some weight. Right now it is really pouring. I'm still gonna stay here for probably another half an hour, but this might be a wrap. But luckily I don't have to unload the car tonight, so I can unload it tomorrow in the sunshine and show you guys what we found. So it's still raining, but this pile looks kind of interesting. I mean, maybe not that interesting, but there is a vacuum cleaner with a cord on it, so. All right, so it's a crappy pile with one cord, but it's something. So the vacuum cleaner wasn't a vacuum cleaner, it's like a Shark floor cleaner, whatever. And this lamp over here, it looks like it's made out of brass, but a pile like this, you can tell this is not gonna be brass. And magnets don't stick to brass. So it's like 5:30 and it's kind of wet. I'm thinking of heading home, but look, a pressure washer with the cord still on it. No, I'm not gonna leave that on the ground. See, pressure washers have little compartments where you can put the plug. Isn't that great? This pile looks like it might have some metal in a bucket. Yep, check it out. This thing is definitely not functional, but it's about 15 pounds of dirty aluminum, so $1.50. And it looks like we really need it because we haven't found any scrap in a while. There it goes. So I had to do a big U-turn to come to this pile because I saw this bike, and this is a super cool bike. It's an old Atala. Let me put it up against the pile. Now, I'm not going to take this bike because I just don't really have a, I don't have room for it. They don't sell that well, but it's definitely a cool bike. But I am glad I saw it because this pile has a lot of metal in it. so we'll check that out too. So we found a little alternator and some door closing mechanisms and like a trailer hitch thing and some weird brackets and a jack and this big crazy hitch ball thing that goes on the back of a truck. So that's a nice little scrap metal score, but I think we're gonna leave the bike behind. So it's after 6 o'clock and it's a little chilly and it's drizzly still, but I'm still finding stuff. Like this pump here that's got this big cord on it, which I'm gonna cut off and try not to touch with my bare hands. I'll carry it back to the car like this. This gross cord. There it goes into the trunk. Sometimes I wear gloves, sometimes I just let my hands get dirty, and sometimes I'm dainty about it, like right now. Right now we're on a dead-end street, and over here there's a real dead-end pile. I'm gonna guess that this stainless pan is magnetic because the rest of their cookware is kind of crappy. So, nope, it's non-magnetic. And it weighs like a pound? Half a pound? That's 30 cents worth of stainless steel right there, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god. This is Analon 1810 stainless steel. It's a wok with a lid. So it's still worth 30 cents at the scrapyard. This is the same pile that we came to a couple other times today where the lady was putting out some pretty cool stuff. And I got a few things I'm going to show you. First of all, some BX wire and some extension cords. A nice old thick extension cord. And these yellow flat cords, I think they're great. They remind me of my childhood. Then we got a nice old wood level and this wood thing with brass fittings. It looks like it's probably designed for cleaning out gun barrels. A few really nice clean files. A light bulb on a cord. And a shoebox full of nails. Can't go wrong with that unless you spill them in the driveway. It's about 20 to 7. And the sun's starting to go down. It's been a pretty good day despite the rain, but I'm going to call it quits and head home. And I will unload the car tomorrow when it's sunny and show you everything that we found. So I'll see you then. It's not sunny, but it's not raining either, so we'll go over what we found last night or yesterday afternoon. First we got this GTM Feeling fixed gear bike. It's kind of like a cheap mail order fixed gear bike, but it's pretty cool anyway. I like this gusset right here. I wonder if that actually does anything. And then you got your Iron Horse Maverick 1.2 24-inch kids mountain bike. That is a pretty decent bike, and it's in pretty good shape, just a little bit dirty. So I'm pretty excited about that. Then there's this Trek Mountain Track 800, and this is a weird one. You know, it's got this paint flaking that I've never seen on a Trek before. I don't know how old this bike is either. It's got cool graphics though. So I would guess this is kind of an older Trek, like, I don't know, late 80s, early 90s. But it shouldn't be that hard to sell. I don't know. My buyer might not like the paint stuff going on, but I think it gives it kind of a rugged look. And speaking of the rugged look, here's our Motobacan, which is by far my favorite bike, even though it's virtually worthless. Nobody really wants steel-wheeled road bikes with rusty frames, but I think this is just gorgeous. Look at the, I don't know if that's rust or primer or old paint. Rust all the way up the frame. Your Motobacan badge. The fork tips are totally rusty and the rims are totally rusty. And I think these are the original wheels because they have the Normandy hubs on them. And surprisingly, this bizarre one-piece Motobacan grip and brake hood is in excellent condition. Who would have thought that? It's really windy today, so I decided to just get inside the car and close the doors and windows to show you the rest of the load. It's a little weird being inside your own car. But here's this Cube Street amplifier. I don't think this is called the Cube Street, like Main Street. I think it's called the Cube Street, like the Cube amplifier, and this is the street version. And I think these are designed for like street performers, because you can put batteries in here and use it with batteries, and it seems pretty low power because it doesn't use big batteries, just double A's. It also has a DC input, and it's got a channel for the microphone and a channel for the guitar. So I think the idea is you can sit there on the corner, sing into the microphone, play the guitar, and people will throw money into your guitar case. So that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, it's in horrible condition. It's all crusty and soaked, and I'm probably just going to throw it right back in the garbage. Inside this case here is that accordion that we found. So I'm going to open that and check that out a little more. This accordion has a lot of shiny, sparkly stuff on it, and it looks like this panel here is at the very least silver plated. But to me, it doesn't look like a real expensive accordion. It just looks like it's expensively decorated. I could be wrong. On the back here, you know, the wood is kind of falling apart, peeling. And it looked like this thing was out in the rain, but it may not have been. I'm not sure. From the other side, you can see more of these details, you know, little cherubs and things inlaid. So somebody put a lot of work into the decoration. And normally, with an accordion, it's gonna make some noise. So I guess that was some noise. Now the thing about accordions is they're unwieldy as it is, and I'm in the front seat of my 96 Camry, so it's even more unwieldy. So don't expect a full demonstration of this thing. I'm not Weird Al Yankovic, but it does make some noise. And to me, it looks like it says Augusto Torrio Sons, New York on the front. Hey Google, Augusto Torrio Sons accordion. Google doesn't seem to know anything about this thing. So the accordion remains a mystery, and we'll leave it at that. So now that that big monstrosity is out of the car, we can look at this steel 026 chainsaw. My friend saw this yesterday after I got it, and he told me that the 026, or any steel chainsaw that ends with an even number, is a professional saw. I don't know about that, but he's a real reliable guy, so I will believe him there. And even though this saw is really dirty and grimy, it looks like it's in pretty good condition. It doesn't look like it's too beat up, and I don't see anything that's obviously broken. In fact, you can still read the steel logo on the bar, and a lot of the time these are worn off on heavily used saws. And you can even read the information a lot of the time this stuff is hard to read too. So, as grubby as it looks, I suspect that I should do okay on this saw. Now the real fun part is this pile of stuff that I got from that one lady who kept putting stuff out all day. I stopped by her pile, I think, 3 times. So let's see, a shoebox full of nails. I don't use a ton of nails, but I don't think I've had to buy nails for a long time. And then there's this old brass level, and if you look carefully, it's a Stanley number 0. How can something be number 0? Wouldn't you want to be number 1? So I just looked it up, and this level's maybe worth like $10 in this condition, but that's all right. And next we have some files, and usually when you find files, they're rusty and it's just the metal part. It's kind of unusual to find them with the handles and nice and clean. And these ones are Nicholson Files, and this one, I can't really read it. Maybe Keller, does it say? So here's a baggie with a bunch of these big nails. I don't know what these are for. I think they might be for hanging gutters, but they're not made of aluminum. They're made of steel. This stuff is what I would call an old guy garage pile, meaning that some old guy piled all this stuff into his garage or his basement workshop and then probably died. And now this is what's left. Always cool stuff in these piles. These look like a couple of sharpening stones. Maybe grinding wheels, but probably sharpening stones. Then there's a couple of file handles and some more nails. Again, when have I ever had to pay for nails in the last 10 years? And here are the bullets I found, and I was so excited about these, but it turns out they're not actual bullets, they're just empty shells. Which is still kind of exciting, but you know, you don't find bullets that often that are real bullets. And this whole bucket is filled with gun stuff, like gun cleaning products and cleaning kits. And I've never really found that these gun cleaning kits are really worth that much money, but you know, people will buy them. Like, I'll sell this whole bucket to someone for $5 or $10 and they'll be happy with it. And here's that Super Mario Wii game, but that didn't come out of the same pile. So remember this Tropicana orange juice, frozen concentrated orange juice, more nails in there. And this thing's just got so much great stuff in it, like a drill bit, you know, a drill bit holder, some wire, a little trowel, more nails, another like a putty knife, you know, just all kinds of stuff that really isn't worth a lot. Like this old ass tape measure it's a taped up tape measure. This stuff isn't really worth much. I don't know what's in that jar. I'm not sure I want to find out. Black goo, Vegemite maybe. But this stuff's always fun to look through. I have no idea what that is. Shoe polish maybe? Like, look at this, a whole can of Lubriplate number 8. I don't even know what that is. And then there's this other bucket. Just all kinds of little things. Thumbtacks. Man. Look at the packaging on this. Wow. A whole thing of string. A tubing cutter from Sears. Like a Craftsman tubing cutter. That's probably worth $10. Whoa. An empty pistol grip box. A lightning arrestor. You know, there's just so much cool crap in here. Buck honing oil for honing things. Valves. So you really gotta love it when some old guy saves all this stuff so you can pick it up out of his garbage 20 years later. So thank you to the wife of the guy who threw this stuff out. So now I guess we're done inside the Camry and we can go back out and brave the wind and check out the scrap metal in the trunk, and then we'll be done. Not only is it windy, but it also started raining. So here's our scrap load really quickly. We've got some good wire, vacuum cleaner cords, 3 big batteries. You saw how I grabbed those. That big pump and the motor attached to it, some more wire over here, some stainless, that walk, what's that called, BX, and that big trailer hitch, which I probably will not scrap because that's just a cool thing. And so that's the end of the line for this particular load anyway, and I just want to thank you for riding along with me because it's really, really, really fun making these videos. And so until next time, thanks for watching.